Well, hi, welcome. Thank you very much for dropping by. Today we're going to be talking about market maker software. Is there such a thing? Well, if you've been following me for any time at all, you'll know certainly there is. Now, what I want to do is basically today talk about where that software came from, how it was developed, and what it can potentially do for you. Now, some years ago, some of you obviously already know this, I wrote this book, How the Market Makers Extract Millions of Dollars a Day and How You Can Grab Your Share. But what many of you won't know is that I wrote a book prior to this, which was called Beliefs, Trading Beliefs for a Brighter Future. That was it, Trading Beliefs for a Brighter Future. That book is now out of print. But that was the book that sort of kicked everything off. There was quite a lot of few of those copies of those books around still, and I see a lot today on the internet about people who've taken screenshots of that book and put things onto their websites. But that's another story anyway. But it's interesting how that book has sort of survived, even though it's been out of print for a long time. It still keeps cropping up now and again, and I do see some people selling hard copies of that book for an extortionate amount of money. I have to say, hands up here. That was not the best book. It was my first attempt at writing, my first attempt at putting something down into English, let's say, that somebody could understand. So it wasn't a great book, but it was okay. The method was in there, and it did actually explain it. But this book came along. I'd learned a lot about writing. I'd learned a lot about how to explain something. And so I really put everything into this book to explain the complete method from start to finish. And I do have to say this, even though today we're talking about market maker software, if you never went down that road and you just got a copy of that book, and this isn't a video to plug this book, by the way, but I'm just telling you about where the basis, where everything came from, where the software was developed from. But throughout this book, it is absolutely loaded with examples, this sort of thing, where we talk about how the market works and how the market maker's strategy it works and is applied to the market for you to profit from. Okay, so when I set about getting involved in software development, which looking back, I always wonder whether I should have done that because the amount of money that actually cost. Pat software today cost me around about £250,000. That's about $500,000 to develop over the years. But it's okay, it's more than paid for itself. It was developed only for me originally, and a few people have then taken that software on and achieved great success. So what I want to talk to you today, again, is where this software came from and how it was developed. So first off, the market maker's business model, the market maker's strategy is basically located around three phases of the market. The first is accumulation, the second is manipulation, and the third is a profit release. The basis of this, or the foundation, if you like, is that all market moves, which is the profit release, the actual move that we want to get involved with, will not occur until two preceding things have happened. And those two preceding things are accumulation and manipulation. Now, manipulation we'll get to in a moment, but accumulation. Now, the accumulation process, the best way I can describe this is like if you want to sell something, you need to first to accumulate it. So in other words, let's suppose that you wanted to open a market stall, you would first need to acquire some goods to then sell out. This is exactly the same process in the currency markets, in options, futures, bonds, whatever it is. The same principle applies here. So no matter what you're trading, using this method, you can trade and succeed using this method. I promise you, this is the truth. And I'll get to this, how this actually works in a moment. Okay, so accumulation is a process of accumulating something. Now, I always liken this to the market makers like shaking an apple tree. You shake an apple tree and the apples fall down, you collect them in your bag and off you trot to the market stall to then sell those apples out. Now stay with me on this. It's not a fruit and vegetable advert here. We're talking about the financial markets, but I want to bring it down to the real simple essence of what trading is really all about. Once you have that accumulation, you've accumulated that stock, you want to sell that stock at a higher price. Now, what you don't want to do, this is very important, and this is a lot of people miss this point. What you don't want to do is to rapidly start those prices to move up, because if the prices start to move up, and you've still got your bag, as it were, and you start to sell into that, you will immediately knock the price back down again. That's supply and demand. So if you oversupply the market with your bag of apples, your stocks, whatever, your currency pairs, if you oversupply the market, you will drive the market back down again. And that's not what you need to do as a market maker. As a market maker, you want a nice steady rise that you can then sell into. And remember that your price will be the average price that you paid for all those apples. You collected all that stock. And so you want a steadily rising price. And that is known as the profit release. Okay? Keep that in mind. So you've had accumulation and you've had profit release. But in the middle of that, which is where most traders lose money, is the the manipulation phase. Now, a lot of people will try and rename this and call it a consolidation phase and things like this. That's not true. This is a manipulation phase. And if you've been trading for any degree of time, you will know this to be true because this is where you lose money. And then you sit back, you're in shell shock, you've lost this money, and then later on, maybe a half an hour later or even 10 minutes later, you see the market track off into its trajectory that you anticipated correctly, but you weren't on board. Okay. The reason you weren't on board is because of manipulation. Right? Now, the purpose of manipulation is to shake the tree one last time to collect all the last apples, okay, and also to wrong foot the masses. Okay, important here. Wrong footing the masses, because remember, you don't want the masses to come straight in and buy into this market at this stage. So generally what will happen is that the market will have a breakout, and it'll be a false breakout. Some people call it a false breakout, but again, it's really manipulation. And then traders will put up a buy order above and a sell order below, and they'll try and break out of this box. Interestingly enough, in this book, there's a great example of the breakout strategies that people use and why they fail. They will fail over time. I'll go into that on another video, so you don't have to go and buy the book, even though it's $10. But it sounds like a commercial for this, but it's not really. Okay, so manipulation. Manipulation is about wrong footing you as a trader, so that you are not allowed to get in on the profit release straight away. Okay, and that will generally be done by taking you out. When I say taking you out, that's generally because you will have put a buy order above or a sell order below, trying to capture that. Or you will have got in early during the manipulation, which is a very dangerous place to be, because you don't really know where the market's going to go. You may convince yourself you do, but I've been around this 20 years now, and I still cannot predict accurately every time the output of the manipulation phase. Okay, once that has taken place, the manipulation, they've shaken the last bit of tree, they've wrong-footed the traders, then the market goes up. Now, this is where the Market Maker software, Pat, really absolutely shines, because at this point is the point that you as a trader want to be on this profit release. Now, hasten to add, you are trading on the back of the Market Maker's business model, okay? And that is what Pat software is all about. That's what makes the Market Maker software. You're trading their business model, okay? Keep that in mind, that the Market Maker's strategy or business model is completely separate of you. It just exists and it keeps on rolling around whether you interact with it or not. But with the Market Maker software, Pat, you can interact with that in a very unique way. Now, as the market takes off, the market makers will have to show their hand. This is vital to understand this. If you spot the showing of the hand, you then have a chance to get into the market. Now, this is where a few people again, well, most people again, will fail at this point and suffer a stop out again before getting into the profit release. And the reason for this is because the market makers show their hands repetitively. The trick is when do they show their hand when it really is going to be that profit release. And it's not too difficult to spot once you know what you're doing and with the Market Maker's software. So what we want to look at is Pat in the software, this Market Maker software that I produced called Pat, Professional Activity Tracker. That's where we get the name Pat from. What happens is you will spot in Pat software a markedly amount of movement. And there is a distance like that the market moves up to do with beliefs. Now, I won't get into too much into this because I'm going to do another video about beliefs and the Pat software. But basically, Pat software tracks the beliefs of the market. It's not too much interested in price, although of course it shows that. It's certainly not interested in the high and low close on a bar because we don't use traditional bars. So what the Market Maker's software does is tracking the beliefs in the market. What do you believe about where the market's going to go? If you can start to read beliefs, because you won't personally take a trade until you have what? Until you have created a belief in the future that you are going to profit. Try and take a trade when you think you're going to lose. You can't. Before you take a trade, you must have created a belief within yourself. And that's the same for every trader out there. So Pat market maker software tracks the beliefs of the market, okay? That should even give you a little bit of insight into just how powerful this really is. It's unbelievably powerful. When you spot that move in Pat, even with Pat, you have to go back and check something. This is where most people can't do this because they don't have market maker software. They're just using traditional candles. They can't go back and really check on whether this is valid. The beauty of Pat software is that you can go back and look, and you're looking for what? You're first off looking for accumulation, and Pat will show you that accumulation if it exists. Important. You're then looking for manipulation. If you can find that manipulation, again, Pat software will show you that manipulation. Then you have this jump bar, this dramatic shift of beliefs. Now you can put these three things together. And when you have these three things together, that confirms that you are entering into a true and genuine profit release. Think about that. That is how you're going to make money. That is how you're going to be consistent as a trader. That is how you're going to consistently turn a profit. It is very exciting to use this software. It's very exciting to know that you have this real insight into the markets. Look, the video's gone on long enough now. I am going to do some more videos about exactly what the software is. You can sign up below, or unless you're listening to a podcast, in which case you'll have to get over to the website, where you can download some information and notes on this particular show and others. So we'll call this a close now. Have a read below, as I say, if you're on the website. Sign up to the newsletter or channel so you get notifications of these videos that are coming out. And I'll catch up with you very soon on the next video. It's going to be great. Catch ya. See you soon. Bye-bye.